Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us. We're simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. We're going to go ahead and also bring in our friends over on Instagram so they can be a part of our conversation for today. And then we're going to connect with our friends over on Amazon. And I'll introduce you guys to today's guest that honestly needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway for those who do not know who he is. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see some of the books by our next guest. So excited to welcome back my friend, bestselling author Tony Lindsay, to the broadcast. It's been great being able to talk with Tony over the years on his different books. And now he's released a new book that will definitely have people talking. You guys can see it here. What If I Don't? It's an intriguing title. It's also an intriguing book. We're going to talk to Tony not only about the journey that led him here, but what it's been like for him to create all of these different types of characters and to see how you, the readers, are responding to it. As a side note, I want to say thank you guys over on the Amazon side. You guys made us the #1 media show over the weekend. Really could not do this without your support.
Wow.
So I really appreciate you guys. And if you, again, have not followed us, make sure you guys do hit that follow button in the corner. But Tony, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, Cyrus. I look forward to talking with you.
Look, the pleasure is definitely all mine. Hello to you, L. Puckett. I see you over there on IG. Hello to you, Giraffe as well. Hello to you. And you guys joining us on YouTube. I see you too. So, Tony, it's always great to be able to speak with you about your books. You know, when I saw you had a new book out, I knew it would be something fascinating. I had no idea, I have to be honest, where you were going to take us as readers. But that's kind of become your MO. I mean, you've written so many different types of books. I have some of them here with me. One Dead Activist, one of your David Price books I have here. Also Melody Knight, another different story for you too. Our audience will see some others in the chat. Hello to you, Wendy, over there on Amazon. Chestnut Checkers is over there on the Amazon side. What has it been like for you, Tony, as a storyteller, to be able to decide whatever story you want to write and then to be able to introduce those to your audiences?
I think that's one of the advantages of being a writer, right? A writer, right? Okay, you can you can create a story based on what you're thinking. You can make it a mystery, you can make it street lit, you can make it a thriller, and sometimes, since I like television and I like to read, if I see a good movie and it's had a vampire, and I think I should put me a vampire in a story. Or if I'm watching a good movie and it was a murder mystery that I was able to figure out, I was like, I could write that where it won't be able to be figured out. So I am motivated a lot by what I enjoy doing: movies, reading books, podcasts. So that and because I'm motivated by different things, I write differently. I write in different genres, and that's generally how it happens.
And Tony, what's been great for me to watch, I mean, over a decade with you, is that you are not afraid to try something new. I think so many people get comfortable. What is it that has helped you to continue to challenge yourself from book to book?
I like writing, and I was told once, a good writer has something to say, and I always have something to say about something. And my mother used to say, I've been telling stories since I was born. So it, you know, I like to tell stories. I like to create. So it is something I enjoy doing. So I do it, and I like it when people say that they enjoyed the story. You know, I remember the first story I showed to somebody was a Halloween story, and they liked it. And I remember that feeling of having somebody read it and they enjoyed it. So that's basically it. I like writing, and I like people to enjoy what I write.
And what is so cool, and that I personally benefited from, Tony, Conversations Magazine is celebrating 19 years this month. And you
Wow.
have been a part of that journey with us over the
That's
years
right.
and sharing some of your own writing. I want to talk about that too, because that's one Tony Lindsay book we have not gotten. And that is a nonfiction book of some of these greats that you've been able to profile. Do you also find that part of your journey as a writer is also being a reader too?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think that is, for me, it was a necessity to be a reader,
Hmm.
because I not only get the experience of other writers, but I also get ideas. I get expands my mind, and for me to be creative, my mind has to be open, and I have to be open to materials and new ideas, and I want to see what other people are doing. So yeah, reading is a fundamental part of my writing. I've heard some writers say that they don't have to read. That's not my story. I must read.
Right.
So I try to keep doing it. And yeah, those early critiques and conversations, I remember those were fun. And when
Yeah.
you said 10 years, I was thinking, man, I've known this guy for 20 years. It's been
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. I was trying to be modest for both of us.
Okay.
I'm about to be 50 in July, Tony, which is crazy.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, yeah. To think of
Congratulations.
that. So I want to talk about. I had a chance to be with you here in my home state of Mississippi, but also we went to Louisiana. And one thing about you is that you are so comfortable around your readers. I see that even in it's been years since we've been in the same space together, but
Hmm.
I see you out there at events. I see you connecting. What has that been like for you? I remember after our conversation we had after COVID, after the pandemic in 2020, we talked about even then you were still taking precautions, but even going out there meeting with
Hmm.
readers. Why has that been so important for you?
Well, being a reader without a writer without a huge marketing system behind me,
Hmm.
and also being a writer who wants to hear what people think about my writing, that promotes me or moves me to go out and be with people. Um,
Gotcha.
when I'm meeting with people, I get to talk about my books. I get to talk about what they're reading. I get to hear what they think about my writing. I love it when people come up to me, man. As soon as I saw your name, I had to come over here because I want to see what you was doing now. That's what I
Oh
like.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love it when people say, "Yeah, I like the mystery, but I like it more because it's a Tony Lindsay book, and I know you're gonna write something that's gonna keep me reading."
hmm,
And I wouldn't get that if I stayed home. I
yeah,
wouldn't get that if I didn't go out and meet and talk and be with people. I think that's part of it. Some writers write in isolation, and their talent, that's good for them. I need to go out. I like going out. I like talking, and I like people to get to meet me. People are always, oh, God, I was wondering when I was going to see you. So that feels good to me, and I like hearing it.
yeah. And I totally agree. I mean, it's great that one of the privileges I've been able to have is not only, of course, to spend some time with you, Tony, but also to be with authors in that space. Because I know there's nothing like that opportunity to kind of have that feedback. The other thing I want to talk to you about before we get into what if I don't because I think it ties in together is your longevity. I mean, our audience here on Amazon are seeing some of the books you've been able to write there. This is only a small percentage of the books that are out there right now. Talk to us about this journey for you because you have been able to have a career that's been sustained, Tony, in spite of, I remember, years ago how people felt about when Kindles first came and how
Hmm.
authors, thought, that this was going to be the end in many ways. Then, of course, now we hear these same conversations with AI. What has it been like for you to think about that your career has really surpassed others who have come and gone?
Well, I think people that leave just didn't want to stay writers. I
Hmm.
know a lot of people who were writing trying to jump on the bandwagon, or were writing um, because it would bring them instant fame. Those things would have been nice for me too, but I write because I'm a writer and I enjoy that craft. I
Yeah.
studied the craft. I have an MFA, I have an MA. I did graduate certificates. I learned grammar. These are things I studied so that I could be a writer. So um, it wasn't a light decision. It was a choice. When I was a little kid, I met Gwendolyn Brooks. She told me I could write, and I believed her. So that was
Yeah.
basically how it got started and how I stuck to it. I knew it was a craft, and I knew I had to develop it. So I was always reading, I was studying. And when I was an undergraduate, I didn't major in English. I majored in psychology so I can get a better understanding of thought processes and thinking. And I always figured I could write anyway, so I didn't have to take. But that was arrogance, young arrogance, youthful arrogance.
Mhm.
So later, as a graduate student, I majored in English and in writing. So, but I majored in psychology to learn how people think, and that helps me too with my characters, I think.
Do you still have those wow moments, Tony, when you think about the longevity you've had as a published author, but also the fans you've literally have garnered around the world.
Mm-hmm. I look at the longevity as a blessing and a reaction as the people saying that they still want to read me. So that indicates, and so if they still want to read me, I'm going to still write. But I think I would probably be writing if I only had like 2 readers, or maybe just 1. The longevity is in the response that they'll still buy my books. So if they'll still buy my books, I'll still try my best to get them out there to them. Yeah. And One Day a Preacher was the first published book. And one of the best feelings I had was being on the air and looking over and seeing a lady read my book. So I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And she was engrossed in it too. I didn't stop her. I just kept on walking, but it felt good.
Look, hey, look, these days, we would have sent a picture because of our phones now being. Hey, that's another thing that's going. It's so funny, Tony. You and I've had some great conversations, over the years. And one thing that's changed for me personally since you and I last connected was Blog Talk Radio, which I was on for 17 years of my 2 years now. They folded last year. So,
wow.
So it even in my industry and being able to talk to authors like you, the platforms have changed now. We have Amazon Live, we have other outlets, but it really just show, like you said, if you want to do something, you'll do it. And I think that's the thing. Even if platforms do change. Hello to you, Robert. Good to be able to see you over there on Facebook. For those that are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. And I appreciate all the hearts over there on Amazon. If you guys have any questions or comments for Tony, make sure you guys put those in the chat. For those joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, we have the chat open for you guys too. On X, you can put your comments down there as well. So, Tony, let's get into the new book. So, Tony's seeing for the very first time one of the new services that we offered through Amazon now, and that is our Amazon videos. You guys showed a lot of love to the one we did for Tina Knowles and working with her publisher and talking about her new book, Matriarch, over the weekend. Appreciate that. And I want to shout out Tika Sumter, who shared her video review that we did for her publisher as well for her new children's book. So here is my video review for Tony's new book, What If I Don't? And then Tony and I will get into the conversation. If you're looking for a book that really does test not only the limits of your conscience, but what you'd be able to do to survive, I have just the right book for you. I'm Cyrus Webb of Cyrus Webb Reviews and Books You Need to Read, here to tell you about the newest page-turner from best-selling author Tony Lindsay, What If I Don't? I love this book because there's so many different twists and turns. And this book, let me just tell you, if you've read a book by Tony Lindsay, this is like nothing you can expect. It is not about who is right and wrong. It's who can be the worst or the best of themselves. The characters are put in sometimes impossible circumstances, and the choices they have to make will decide whether they live or die. Tony Lindsay is really good at being able to bring you into characters with a fast-moving story, and this is no different. What if I don't ask the right question? Because believe me or not, no matter what side of the law you find yourself on, you may have to find yourself answering that question, and it could mean your life. So, Tony, that was my thought after reading the book. Tell us how this particular book came about.
Okay, I wanted to do a mystery, and I wanted to involve a family in a mystery. And I wanted to make reference to a need. When I say we, the community, Black communities, we used to have mental health facilities throughout the community. So that was a need. So I put that in, and I wanted to put that in a story. So in this story, you've got a family that owns a mental health facility within the Black community. It came about because I wanted to write a new mystery, but I didn't want to write it with David Price. I've seen other authors write main characters, but they also have mysteries with other characters. So I said, let me try to do that. And I noticed another trend, if you will, in African-American literature is multiple protagonists. And I had never done that. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to write a mystery. It's going to have multiple protagonists. It's going to make reference to a mental health facility, and it's going to be in Chicago. And that's basically how the book was born, Cyrus. I had those prerequisites, if you will, that I wanted to include in a new piece. and I wanted it to be a good story. I wanted to write another good murder mystery.
Mm. Well, murder is a big part of this. And so I'm going to talk around this. You'll know what I'm talking about. But this is what was so fascinating to me, because we're used to, I would say, in the majority of books that you have written, and this is my view as a reader, and you can tell me what your thoughts are as the writer. There's always been someone that you are rooting for, but also you get to understand.
Mm-hmm.
This book is more complicated, because even for those who would be looked at as the bad guys or women, they do things, and you're like, well, I wouldn't do that. I don't think I would do that. But then the circumstances they're in, it's like, okay. And so that's why I wanted to say in my review that it really becomes about life or death, the way that they're kind of put in these situations. Do you feel like, I mentioned there about really testing your conscience? Is that one of the things that you thought about the characters too?
I wanted them to not be predictable.
Okay.
I wanted them to direct or pull some type of empathy from you as the reader. Mm-hmm. I wanted you to be where they were. Like when one of the characters is on that rooftop, I wanted you to be on that rooftop with her. Mm-hmm. When one of the characters is about to commit a murder, learning how to handle the gun, I wanted you to be there with that character learning how to handle a gun. When one character felt his girlfriend was insulted and he had to react, I wanted you to be there. I wanted you to be that person whose girlfriend was insulted, and how would you react? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there is murder. So, and some people had reasons to commit the murders. Mm-hmm. You know, so
yeah, and that is, and it goes. How can I say it without? It goes to even those who are supposed to be on the side of right. I'll say, mm-hmm. Say it that way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that again is what adds so many, because there were certain things I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't see that coming. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, this book is very selfish. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the way it just came to me. It's selfish in that it really is about protecting oneself, protecting one's image, and similar to what you were just saying, and also protecting what one perceives as their rights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Would you agree? Yeah, I would. And it's about protecting family, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, Tony, yeah, it is. But, you know, even the family is kind of, I agree with you. But as a reader, it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, you're protecting the family, but even that has its own self-interest. You know what I'm saying?
It does have danger. Yes. Yeah, it does have danger.
Yeah.
But for me, writing it, the theme was family, right? So gotcha. I had to have family centered in it, but at the same, that doesn't mean that there was safety in that family.
Right.
There was still some danger. There was still some risk. There was still a reason to read, right? And that's what I think the book gives you. I don't think this is a book that someone would put down and pick up a week later. At least I hope it's not. I want you to read it in 3 or 4 days, and I think it was written that way. I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the way it is written, it makes you wonder. Okay, well, for one thing I was looking for is what redemption looks like, and I think even you in this book, Tony, in my opinion, as a reader, you even make that more blurry because I think in our minds we think sometimes what justice looks like, what redemption looks like. This book kind of muddies that, in that it's more personal depending on the person, right?
Right. And you don't, it's not what you think is going to happen. It's not what you would expect to happen. It's not what a book, what previous literature told you happens.
Yeah, right.
You know, no, this is not what happens, you know?
Yeah.
The bad guy or a bad person could win.
You know? Yeah, and that's why I said in my review about it, you know, that it really becomes a person that could be good. Like I'm thinking about one situation in particular, Tony, about one of the female characters we meet, she starts off on a path because of being threatened, but then it's like, okay, once she realizes that particular threat is eliminated,
Mm-hmm.
you keep on down that path. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
it's kind of one of those things too. Other thing you mentioned that's in this book that you are good at really making a character, and that is Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that. I made a note of it, where you had a character who was basically saying, it was time for them to leave Chicago. They wanted something else. And what has that been like for you to make Chicago a character in your books the way you do, and show that, yes, the beauty that can be, but also addressing the challenges that are there too.
Yeah, I love the city, and as I've gotten older, how I see it changes some. It's not always glitter, gold, fun, pizza parties. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is show my perspective of it in the book, and it is a character. For me, it's a character, and I have people, on it and in it, and what it's been for me is it's like having a friend in the story, because people always say, "Man, did you put me in that book?" And so, so Chicago is a person who's always gets puts in the book.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. It's my buddy that wanted to be in the book.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Hello to you, 563 Music Group. Hope all is well. The Real Lady Extreme from Ohio. Hello to you. Good to be able to see you as well. Marion Singh, good to be able to see you over there on IG. If you guys are coming in late, don't worry. We're going to remind you, of course, how the replay will be available on whatever platform you are joining us on. But we also going to let you guys know how to stay connected with Tony. Tony, I can't have this conversation with you without talking about social media. That's how this connection was made. And for this particular conversation, that's become a big part of all of our lives, especially for authors. And it's been interesting for me, of course, in the work I do, social media plays such a big role in that. But I do hear a lot of authors kind of having that love-hate relationship sometimes, because they just want to be able to do their craft, but they also know social media is where the people are. What has that been like for you to navigate in your career, the changing ways that you're able to connect with your readers using social media?
I am really slow with it, but I use social media and I wait until I can understand it, right?
Okay.
When Instagram hooked up with Facebook, that was a blessing for me, because it let me hit 2 in 1, right? So Instagram, social media, Twitter, or not Twitter, but X. I just post on there. I use it as best I can. And I contact groups, I contact writers, I contact book clubs through the accessibility of social media, particularly Facebook. That's where I spend the majority of the time, Facebook and Instagram. And I use some really good services. Radia, Miss Queenie, Ellen, who are Facebook and social media pros. I do use them because they're much, much more adapted than I am. And if you see me on Facebook, you'll see them posting different things. So, right. and they're, again, because they've got the skill. I do some, but I use professionals.
Well, I was teeing that up for a reason, Tony. I wanted to ask you, is that something you thought about making a situation for your books, or a connection with your characters in a book?
Have I thought about writing about
Right.
social media?
Yeah, using social media almost as one of the antagonists in a book.
Well, that's an idea, Cyrus. I could see that happening. Whereas social media is stopping someone, or that would be that's almost a plot and a storyline.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that happening quite well.
Well, the reason why I thought about it, especially with someone like you who writes so, with such diversity, is because, as I said, hearing from authors and talking about their love-hate relationship, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a character.
Yeah, I can see that.
The way it's used, so it. Hey, look, I think it leans itself easily. Again, everyone, Tony Lindsay has been our guest. We've been talking about his extraordinary career, but his newest book is What If I Don't? Now, I was very careful not to give any spoilers in this conversation in my review, but also my conversation with Tony. But let me just say, don't fall in love with any character in this book. Don't do it. Is he Tony like one of your favorite TV show series? So you have to divorce yourself from feeling too much. But Tony, really enjoyed this book. Excited about what's coming up next. How can our audience stay connected with you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm Tony Lindsay, Facebook. And my email is writing.night@gmail.com. Writing.night@gmail.com. Oh, and I've got a website, www.pen4hire. Pen for Hire. That's me as well.
Love it. Well, Tony, great conversation as always. Looking forward to our next chat together, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
More than welcome. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll speak to you soon. Take care.